Three. Hello, everyone. Hi. Today we are going to be discussing perfect competition, market structure. Previously, I discussed firm supply and the cost in chapter 6, and now we are in chapter 8. Daniela will have already covered the other part of the lecture, so I hope that you're well and you're ready for a new session with me. Okay, so in this lecture, I have few objectives. I wish you will be able to understand them by the end of my discussion. One of them is by the end of this chapter, you should be able to define perfect competition, describe why perfect competition firms equate marginal cost and price, understand how profit and losses lead to entry and exit in the perfect competition market structure. You should be able to draw an industry supply curve for perfect competition, both in short run and in the long run. And you need to understand the comparative static analysis of a competitive industry. Right, so let us start the introduction. So competitive process dominate modern life. As you know, you and your friends do compete for grades at vet, concert tickets, spouses, jobs, and many other benefits. Competitive markets are simply an extension of competition inherently in our daily life. So economists use market structure analysis to categorize industry based on a few characteristics. By knowing a simple industry fact, we can predict the behavior of the firm in the industry in such areas as pricing and sales. In a perfect competitive market, both buyers and sellers believe that their own action have no effect on market price. In contrast, in monopolistic, the only seller or potential seller in the industry set the price. So there is a difference between perfect competition and a monopolistic firm. Now, just for your information, there are two extremes. One, you are either a perfect competition or you are a monopoly. In the middle, there is monopolistic competition and there is an oligopolistic competition. Hopefully, we will discuss them during the time of our studies. So in a perfect competition market, both buyers and sellers believe that their own action have no effect on the market price, so they cannot influence market price. So whether the firms have to take the price which is prevailing in the market, they cannot influence the price in both in the short run and the long run. So for a perfect competition, changes in market condition apply to all firms and consumers. Changes change the equilibrium price and hence individual quantity demanded, but each consumer neglects any feedback from his own action to market. So you should understand that no consumer, no specific firms can actually influence the outcome of the market, okay? So in a perfect competition market, there are a few assumptions you need to know. What are the main assumptions in this? So one of them is that all goods and services are homogeneous or standardized, i.e., these firms in a perfect competition, they sell the similar goods, so homogeneous goods. There are many buyers and sellers in the market. Many firms each trivially relate to the industry, and each of them are so small that none can individually influence product price. Okay. Another one is that they are price takers, i.e., a market set price. Buyers and sellers have full information about the price and the prices and product quality and quantity to make informed decision. There is free entry and exit, no barrier to entry. So long as the market is profitable, more firms can come through into the industry. But be careful here, because exit and entry actually is a long run phenomenon, while the shutdown is a short-term phenomenon. Right. So barriers to entry or exit are insignificant in the long run. New firms are free to enter the industry if it appears profitable, while firms are free to exit if they anticipate losses. So perfect competition customers have information about product quality, so that buyers know that the product of the different firm really are the same. So another important phenomena about a perfect competition firms is that they do have a horizontal demand curve, which is one of the key factors about a perfect competition market structure. So remember that they do have a horizontal demand curve. Previously, we developed a theory of firm supply. Now, you remember that in chapter 6, I said that the firm uses marginal condition where marginal cost is equal to marginal revenue to find the best positive output, and then it uses the average condition to check if the price for which this output is sold cover the average cost. So you remember that for a firm to supply something, they must set price is greater than short-run average variable cost, which is equal to marginal cost. So that was our supply curve. That's how we determined the supply curve previously. Okay, we established that marginal revenue is a change in total revenue from selling an additional unit of output, while marginal cost is a change in total cost from producing one more unit of output. So the relation marginal revenue equal to marginal cost is called the profit maximizing output rule. Firm maximize profit by producing output where marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost. No other level of output produce a higher profit, as well as we will see in a subsequent chapter. This rule applied to all firms regardless of the market structure. So a special relation in a perfect perfect competition is that marginal cost must also equal price. Likewise, marginal revenue must equal price. That's true as well about perfect competition. So let us look on the perfect competition firms in the short run. So a firm chooses the output at which marginal cost equal to marginal revenue, so such, and then equal to price. A perfect competitive firm will choose price equal to marginal cost, then it must check whether it will rather shut down in the short run. It will shut down if they fail to cover the short run variable cost at this level. So this is a shutdown condition, always remember. So it said price is equal to short run. If price equal to short run marginal cost is less than short run average variable cost, that firm will shut down. So this is very important, and that's why it has unique color with it. What does the short run average variable cost curve tell us? The short run average variable cost tell us whether a firm should operate or not. What does the short run marginal cost tell us? It merely tells us the profit maximizing level of output. Okay, so a short run supply curve above point A at which, so there is a graph in the next page where point A is, so just check. So a short run supply curve above point A at which the short run marginal cost curve crosses the lowest point on the short run average variable cost. Also, each firm short run supply curve is a part of the short run marginal cost curve above its shutdown price. This we did discuss in chapter 6, and I'm just repeating it here for you to remember. Between the point A and point C in the graph, in the next slide, the firm is making a short run loss. So if we come here and we check between point A and C, our point A and C as we argue here, the firm is making short run losses. Why is that the case between point A and C? Because of course here, if you're from point A and C, all the prices from point A and C, they are all below short run average, short run total cost. So you remember that profit is nothing else but its quantity times price minus short run total cost. So if you are below this, all the prices below short run total cost, you are incurring a loss. So remember that. Right. Okay, and then it's making a short run loss, but recouping some of its overhead. So the firm will still be operating in this format. Why? Because from A to C, the firm is still covering. From A to C, the firm is still covering its variable cost because the prices setting from A to C are above short run average variable cost. So if your prices, so you could be making a loss mathematically because profit is equal to quantity times price. Profit is equal to quantity times price minus average total cost or short run average total cost. So A to C is a loss, but you are covering this short run variable cost, so you will be operational. The price P1 is a shutdown price, below which the firm cut its losses by producing zero output. So at price P1, this is a shutdown point, because if you are below that, if you cannot cover your short run average variable cost at this point, if you are below this P1, you should shut down because your price is lesser than your variable cost, short run variable cost, so you should shut down. So if the firm faces a horizontal demand curve at the price P4, so at the price P4, which is here, surely the price is equal to marginal cost and is above your short-run average total cost and is above your short-run average variable cost. So surely here you are making a profit. Now your profit, the profit you are making here is P4DG P3. That rectangle is a profit you will be making, right? Okay, so you should have noticed that. So we know from the equation short-run marginal cost must equal to marginal revenue must equal to price that the firm chooses the output Q4 to reach point D at which P equal to MC. The firm then check whether it will rather shut down in the short run. It shut down if the price P4 failed to cover the short-run variable cost. In figure 1 above, we see that P4 is actually above your short-run average variable cost at output Q. The firm supply Q4 and make profit. Point D lie above point G. So if you look at here, point D lie above point G, so surely it means you are now actually making a profit. So that's true. And I did explain what that means. Okay, so if we move to the long run, a firm long run supply curve, so this graph figure 2 is for long run, a firm long run supply curve relating output supply to price in the long run is that part of long run marginal cost curve. Above it is long run average cost curve. So from D upward for the marginal cost curve, from D upward, that is your long run supply curve, right? That will be equivalent to your long run supply curve because it's above this point, right? Okay, so note that the long run supply curve is the part of it is long run marginal cost curve above its entry and exit price. Any price below P3, the firm exits the industry. Again, if the firm is not covering its long run average cost, it should exit the industry in the long run. Now contrast this. Remember that here, the firm was not exiting the industry. It was just merely shutting down temporarily. So long as the firm is covering short-run average variable cost, it doesn't exit the industry. It merely shut down temporarily. But in the long run, if your price is below your long-run average cost, the firms should exit the industry. And if the price is above long-run average cost, more firms will enter the industry. Remember, in the long run, more firms can enter the industry. A firm long-run supply curve relating also, I have discussed this before. At any price below P3, the firm exits the industry. At any price, at the price P3, the firm produce Q3 and just break even, i.e. make zero economic profit. In the long run, in a perfect competitive firms, you need to remember that one of the behavior of it is that it doesn't make any positive profit, it makes a zero economic profit. So long as you're talking about the long run, always remember for perfect competitive firms, they do make zero economic profit. That is very important. When economic profit are zero, the firm makes normal profit. Its accounting profit just covers the opportunity cost of the owner, money, and time. Okay, so the price P3 corresponds to the lowest point on the long run average cost curve is the entry or exit price. Here, the firm only makes normal profit. Note that entry refers to when the firms join an industry, and exits when the firms leave the industry. So, okay, so let's check few conditions here. So we have marginal condition where you produce a certain output when P is equal to MC. That's what first condition you have to check in perfect competition. And then in the short run, if your price is less than your short run average cost, you shut down temporarily. But in the long run, if your price is less than your long run average cost, you exit the industry. So industry supply. Entry and exit in the long run are analogous to shutdown in the short run. In the long run, an entry and exit affect the number of producing firms whose output is horizontally aggregated to get the industry supply. We will see this when we do an example. I did a good example here for you. There's an example at the end of the notes which discusses this. In the short run, the number of firms in the industry is given, i.e. is fixed. So there will be a number. So remember this because this is actually important in our example, which we will do at the end of the notes, that the number of firms in the industry in the short run is fixed. But some are producing while others are temporarily shutting down. The industry supply curve is the horizontal sum of the output produced at a given market price. Okay, implication of the short-run cost curve. So what are the implications of the short-run cost curve? So if you are looking the short-run, first, you can check your short-run marginal cost, and if you check that if the short-run average variable cost is less than price, which is equal to your marginal cost, then by intuition that is your supply curve. I.e., if price is greater than your short-run variable cost, which is the short-run marginal cost curve, become the supply part. So make sure P greater than short-run average variable cost, then that implies that is your supply curve. Now, if your price is greater than your short-run average total cost, you are making a profit, right? And then recall that profit is nothing else but price minus short-run average total cost. So long as this is greater than that, you are making a profit. When it's equal to that, you are making normal profit. When it's less than that, you are incurring a loss. When price is above your short-run average variable cost, you should operate. And when it's less than that, you should shut down. Okay. So in the short run, one factor of production is fixed, usually the firm's plant size, and the firm cannot enter or leave the industry. So the number of firms in the industry is fixed. Firms may earn economic profit, break even, or suffer losses, but still they exit the industry and no new firms can enter. So remember, entry and exit is a long-term phenomenon. In the long run, all factors of production are variable, and thus the level of profit induced entry and exit. When losses prevail, some firm will leave the industry and invest their capital elsewhere. Long-run supply curves are flatter than their short-run counterpart. Of course, the more the firms, the supply is increasing, so the elasticity of supply become more elastic. Each firm can vary its factors more appropriately. Higher prices attract more firms in the industry. Industry output rises by more than extra output supplied by the firms already in the industry. Conversely, if prices fall, firms initially move down their relative steep short-run supply curve. And if the short-run average variable costs are covered, firms may not reduce output by very much. A price cut reduces the industry output by more in the long run than in the short run. Of course, the sensitivity, as I say, is more elastic in the long run. The long run is the period in which adjustment in both input and numbers of firms is complete. A marginal firm in the industry just break even. So remember, in the long run, firms in perfect competitive industry do not make profit. They must incur, they are all making normal profit. In the short run equilibrium, the price equates quantity demanded and total quantity supplied by the given number of firms in the industry when each firm is on short-run supply. Okay, so this is important again because in our question I did discuss this extensively. Why would a firm even operate at a loss? A firm can minimize its loss by continuing to operate if the price is greater than its short-run average variable cost. So remember that. In the long run equilibrium, the price equates quantity demanded and the total quantity supplied by the number of firms in the industry when each firm is on. Okay, so this is repeated here. So I will rectify this. Note that when a firm earns zero economic profit, it's generating just enough income to keep investors' capital in business. When a typical firm in an industry is earning normal profit, there is no pressure for firm to enter or leave the industry. This is an important factor in the long run. The normal profit equals zero economic profit, where price is equal to average total cost. Shutdown point when price is in the short run fall below the minimum point on average variable cost. The firm will minimize losses by closing its doors and stopping production. Since P is less than AVC, the firm variable costs are not covered. So by shutting down, the planned losses are reduced to the fixed cost only. So remember that, that's an important aspect. Market price in the long run is equal to the minimum point on both the short run average total cost, short run average total cost, and the long run total cost, long run average total cost. So this is a very important thing, a very important phenomenon in a perfect competitive market, because the same price is equal to marginal cost, which is equal to marginal revenue. Now remember, when marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost, that is allocative efficiency. When short-run average total cost is equal to long run average total cost, that is a production efficiency. You are like incurring only the minimum cost. So perfect competition firms are both allocative efficient and productive efficient. So that is important. So this equation illustrates why competitive markets are the benchmark against which all other market structures are evaluated. First, competitive markets exhibit productive efficiency. Products are produced and sold to consumers at their lowest possible opportunity cost, i.e. the minimum short-run average total cost and long-run average total cost. So if you are covering that, then we say that's productive efficiency. Given existing technology, firm cannot produce these products more cheaply. For consumers, this is an excellent situation to be in. They pay no more than the minimum production cost plus a profit sufficient to keep producers in business, and consumer surplus is maximized. So there is no deadweight loss when we are talking about perfect competition. So remember that, that's in a perfect competition industry, no deadweight loss. Okay. Consumer surplus is maximized. Not productive efficiency, goods and services are produced and sold to consumers at their lowest resource opportunity cost. Second, competitive market demonstrate allocative efficiency. The price consumers pay for a given product is equal not only to the minimum total average total cost, but also to the marginal cost. Producers and consumer surplus are maximized. Because price represents the value consumers place on a product, a marginal cost represents opportunity cost to society to produce that product. When these two values are equal, the market is allocative efficient. Allocative efficient, the mix of goods and services produced are just what society desires. The price that consumers pay is equal to marginal cost and is also equal to the least average total cost. So this is important. Okay. So the flip side of the above observation is that if the market falls out of equilibrium, public interest will suffer, i.e. there will be a deadweight loss imposed because of that. Why in the long run will revenue never exceed costs? So if revenue exceeds costs, pure profit in the short run, new firms will enter the industry until revenue is equal to cost, no more profit in the long run. So anytime it's profitable to be in the industry, in the perfect competition market in the long run, it signals more firms to come through, and they erode away the profit firms are earning until profit is equal to zero. So there are different types of industries. There are industries which are by nature in cost increasing industry. So cost increasing industry actually fall in the category of which an industry which in the long run faces higher prices and costs as industry output expands. So as they produce more, their costs do increase. Industry expansion put upward pressure on resources input, causing higher costs in the long run. Then we have a decreasing cost industry, where an industry in which in the long run, they face lower prices and costs as industry output expand. Some industry enjoy economical scale. So companies like Microsoft, Apple, and Google, they have economical scales, which mean they can expand. And as they expand, it means that their average cost decreases the increased output, right? Constant cost industry, an industry which in the long run faces roughly the same price and cost as industry output expand. So some industry can visually clone their operation in other areas without putting pressure on resource prices, resulting in constant operating costs as they expand in the long run. So you should rather prefer the decreasing cost industries or constant cost industry. Okay, as I promised, I prepared an example to be able to illustrate what are the most important, or actually just to give you a glimpse of what are the important stuff you're supposed to understand about perfect competition. So perfect competition, those are the stuff so far you must understand. Remember that in perfect competition, price is equal to marginal cost. There is no barrier to entry. There is a infinite number of firms. They sell homogeneous good, and they are productive efficiency and allocative efficiency, and there is no barrier to entry. So remember that, right? Now, an example. There is an example here I wrote for you to be able to check, and it's actually a long example. So I'm going to explain it briefly, and then you can actually try to attempt it. And if you get stuck, I encourage you to check the YouTube on this lecture, and you can comment on it so I can see whether there was a typo, there was an error. You can just comment on YouTube and says, okay, this was a problem. Maybe you mistyped this, and I can correct and re-upload it. Okay, so a perfect competitive painted necktie industry has a larger number of potential entrants. Each firm has an identical cost structure such that long-run average cost is minimized at an output of 20 units, i.e. QI for each firm is producing 20 units. The minimum average cost is 10 rand per unit. Okay, and then you are given that the total market demand is given by Q is equal to 1,500 minus 50p. So the question is, what is the industry long-run supply schedule? So few questions I need you to be able to answer. What is the industry long-run supply? What is the long-run equilibrium price, a total industry supply, the output of each firm, and then what is the number of firms in the industry and the profit of each firm. That's part B. And then part C says the short-run total cost curve associated with each firm long-run equilibrium output is given by this. And you are supposed to look to calculate the short-run marginal cost, the short-run average cost, the necktie output level where short-run average cost reach a minimum. Now, part D then asks you to calculate the short-run supply curve for each firm and the industry short-run supply curve. Then you now suppose that painted neckties become more fashionable and market demand function shift upward, where it become this. So remember, it was this one, now it went up by 500. Right. Using this demand curve, answer part B for the very short run when firm cannot change their input, so their output, i.e. output is fixed. In the short run, use the industry short run supply curve to recalculate the answers to part B. What is the new long run equilibrium for the industry? Okay, so let's start. What is the industry long run supply curve? So recall that in the long run, supply curve is horizontal, and we get it by P equal to long run marginal cost, which is equal to long run average total cost, which is equal to 10, as we are given here. In our question here, it says that the minimum average cost is 10 per unit. Now, each firm has an identical structure so that in the long run, such that the long run average cost curve is given by that, and this. So you get that. So we already know our equation here from our notes that P is equal to LMC, which is equal to AC in the long run, right? The long run equilibrium then, we know what price is and we know what's the quantity. So we take Q is equal to 1,500 minus 50 times price, which we got it to be 10. So that's just mean that the quantity, the market, which is the entire market, is producing the quantity of 1,000, right? So that's what I did here. We obtain above P equal to that. So the total industry Q from A, we know this is equal to that. We substitute and we get quantity to be 1,000, which is the total industry supply. The output of each firm then, this is given as 20. So we know that each firm will produce at it produces a quantity at the minimum long run average, the long run average cost, where it is minimized. So because you need to minimize your long run average cost, so you will produce at a quantity which is equal to 20. What is the number of firms in the industry? If the market, if there's an amount which was producing the entire market and each firm is producing 20, surely you take 1,000 divided by 20 to get the number of firms to be 50. The profit. Profit then is nothing else but its quantity per each firm's price minus that. Now you remember that quantity, each firm is producing a quantity of 20, and they are charging a price which is equal to 10, and the average cost as well is equal to 10, so they make a zero profit because we're in the long run. Now for part C, the short-run cost curve associated with each firm long-run equilibrium output is given by this. So the short-run marginal cost, then we differentiate cost with respect to Q to get, I'm sure that if you differentiate this, you should get this. The short-run average cost, we divide this by Q. At what necktie output level does the short-run average cost reach a minimum? You recall that AC is at its minimum when AC is equal to MC, so you equate that and that and solve for Q, and you get Q is equal to 20. For part D, calculate the short-run supply curve for each firm. Recall the supply curve is given by P is equal to MC, which is greater than your average variable cost. So MC, we got it here to be Q minus 10. We can rewrite in terms of price, which we can rewrite as Q is equal to P plus 10. The industry short-run supply for the industry, recall that there are 50 firms, so we must just take 50 times our supply, and you get 50p plus 500. Suppose now painted neckties become more fashionable. So what happened here is that the demand curve actually shifted upward. Using this demand curve, answer part B for the very short run when the firm cannot change the output. So if the firm cannot change the output, even though demand have increased, quantity for the entire market, it is still fixed in the short run, which means this will have to be 1,000. So when you solve, you should get that 1,000 divided by 50. You should get that the price they will be charging is 20 now. The total industry output is still fixed at 1,000. Output of each firm will be given by, now you taking that the amount which we still have is 50, and you divide by that, and they are producing a quantity of 20. What is the number of firms in the industry? The number of firms remain 50. The profit of each firm then is, again, now notice that the price have gone up. So quantity is 20, price is that, and this remain the same, because if you actually calculate your average cost, notice that your average cost is 10, so you make a profit of 200. So what does that mean? It means that this will signal more firms coming into the industry. In part F, in the short run, use the industry short run supply curve to recalculate the answers to part B. So at equilibrium, we know that demand equals supply, so we just take this and equate to that, because we are talking about the market. We solve price, and we get the price is equal to 15, and the quantity that each firm produce quantity that divided by this, so they produce 25, and profit is given by this, and is making, and marginal cost, average cost is given by that. So this is the profit you should get. What is the new long run equilibrium for the industry? Again, recall that in the long run, P is equal to LMC, which is equal to that, which is equal to 10. So Q is equal to this, minus that, we get 1,500. Further, recall that each firm in the long run produces the quantity that minimize long run average cost. So long run average cost is equal to 20. So the number of firms in the industry is given by that. So there are 75 firms, and the profit is given by this. So again, notice that in the long run, they're still making zero profit. What next? So in the next part of this lecture, we will cover monopoly market structure. Remember to do all the questions at the back of the prescribed textbook. You can watch today's lecture and previous lectures on YouTube using the link provided above, and give feedback on errors. I'll get back to you about them. So thank you very much again for watching this lecture, and I hope that you learned from it. And if there is a way of improving it, you can always send me an email on how to improve it. And I hope that you have a wonderful time at home. Stay home and be safe. Thank you very much.